On a chilly January morning, the sky was still dim when Nicola Bulley woke up. It was a morning like any other, but no one could have predicted that it would be the last morning she would be seen. The sun had just begun to cast faint rays through the thick fog that blanketed the roads and fields around Inskip, a small, peaceful village with only a few hundred residents. The sound of birds singing echoed from the bare trees, but the atmosphere was eerily quiet, as if something mysterious was waiting to unfold. Nicola woke up as she did every day, leaving her warm bed with a gentle smile on her face. She was accustomed to her daily routine, and there was no reason to think today would be any different. Nicola lived in a small but cozy house with her husband Paul and their two lovely daughters. They had built a peaceful life here, where everyone knew each other, and life in Inskip moved slowly and gently. Nicola's mornings typically began with preparing breakfast for the family. In the kitchen, she could hear the small footsteps of her daughters running down the stairs, their laughter filling the house with warmth. Paul, her husband, had already woken up and was making coffee in the kitchen as part of the daily routine they had built together. They were an admirable couple, always supporting each other in daily life and raising their children in a peaceful and safe environment. That morning, everything seemed completely normal. Nicola's daughters ate breakfast, chatting cheerfully about their plans for the school day ahead, while she helped them dress and prepare their school bags. Nicola was always a thoughtful mother, always putting her children first. She took care of everything with love and attention, not missing a single detail. Their small home was filled with laughter and love, perfect picture of a happy family in a peaceful village. After getting ready, Nicola drove her daughters to school, a small school in a nearby village a few miles from Inskip. She enjoyed driving in the morning, savoring the fresh air and the feeling of freedom as she drove through the lush green fields. The winding narrow roads led through expansive fields, where cows grazed lazily, and the rows of trees stood tall, creating a picturesque scene. Nicola always felt at peace driving along these roads, a serene feeling she cherished. Upon arriving at the school, Nicola parked the car and walked her daughters into their classroom. She greeted the teachers and her daughters' friends, all of whom knew and liked her. Nicola was a friendly person, with a warm smile always on her face. She had good relationships with everyone in this small community and was always ready to help whenever someone needed it. After ensuring her daughters were settled in their classroom, Nicola returned to her car and drove to another favorite spot of hers, a trail near the river Wire, where she often walked her dog, Willow. Willow was a golden retriever, an important member of the Bulley family. Nicola adored Willow, and walking him every morning had become an essential part of daily routine. Willow always got excited when Nicola grabbed the leash, knowing that a walk was coming. These morning walks with Willow were not only a time for Nicola to relax, but also moments where she felt a deep connection with the surrounding nature. That day, when Nicola parked the car and stepped outside, the thick fog still blanketed the area. She pulled her coat tighter, feeling the gentle chill of the morning. Willow circled around her feet, eager for the upcoming walk. The trail led to a small bench by the river Wire, where Nicola often paused to sit and watch the water flow by. This small river was unremarkable, but to Nicola, it was a quiet place where she could relax her mind and reflect on life. As Nicola walked along the trail, she encountered a few familiar faces, also out walking their dogs. They greeted each other and exchanged a few pleasantries, but no one realized that it would be the last time they would see her. Nicola continued walking, leaving the familiar faces behind, and entered a more secluded area where it was just her and Willow. Cold and the fog created a strange atmosphere, as if the outside world was gradually fading away, leaving only the two small figures on the path. When she reached the bench, Nicola stopped and unleashed Willow to let him run freely. She sat down, took out her phone, and sent a quick message to a friend, arranging a play date for their children over the weekend. Then, she opened her phone to join a Microsoft Teams meeting for work. It was a meeting she didn't need to actively participate in. She turned off her camera and microphone, just listening to what was happening. Time passed, and Nicola felt comfortable sitting on the bench, watching Willow play around. The surroundings were peaceful, with only the gentle sound of flowing water and the rustling of the wind in the trees. He felt at peace, a sense of tranquility she always sought in mornings like this. But she didn't know that this tranquility was also a sign of something unusual about to happen. At 9:10 a.m., Nicola was still sitting on the bench, staring intently at her phone. That was the last time anyone saw her. After that moment, no one knew what happened to Nicola Bulley. Her phone remained connected to the meeting. There were no further signs of her. Willow, her loyal dog, was found alone near the bench, with his leash lying on the ground. Nicola's phone was discovered on the bench, still active. Nicola Bulley's disappearance from that point became a mystery that no one could explain. Paul, her husband, when he received the news from the school about Willow and his wife's phone being found, quickly rushed to the scene, hoping to find her immediately. But when he arrived, there was no trace of Nicola. He could only find Willow, standing beside the bench, staring into the empty space as if searching for his owner. Paul was panicked and confused. How could Nicola disappear in just a few short minutes? He began searching the area, but all efforts were in vain. There were no signs indicating where Nicola had gone, no traces of a struggle, no indications of anything unusual. Everything seemed completely normal, except for the fact that the woman he loved had vanished without a trace. Police were called, and a large-scale investigation was quickly launched. Drones swept over the area from above, while divers searched the cold waters of the River Wire. But despite all the resources mobilized, no one found any sign of Nicola. She seemed to have disappeared into thin air, leaving behind an inexplicable void. Meanwhile, news of Nicola's disappearance quickly spread through the small community of St. Michael's on Wire. The locals, who were very close-knit, couldn't believe what was happening. They organized voluntary searches, scouring the area in hopes of finding some clue. But like the police, they found nothing. Nicola Bulley, an ordinary woman, a loving mother, a respected wife, had mysteriously vanished without leaving a trace. Paul returned home after a long day of fruitless searching. He had to face the task of explaining to their daughters that their mother was missing, something he couldn't even comprehend himself. Their daughters, still too young to grasp the complexity of the situation, could only ask where their mother had gone. Paul didn't know how to answer, so he could only hold them close, hoping that tomorrow everything would return to normal. But tomorrow brought no answers. Nicola Bulley's disappearance quickly became a widely followed story across the nation as the press and media began covering the case. People from all over the country focused their attention on the case, trying to understand what had happened to Nicola. But the more people got involved, the more complex the mystery became. After Nicola Bulley's disappearance was reported, the Lancashire police quickly took action. The disappearance of an adult woman, in broad daylight and in a quiet village, was unusual and highly concerning. The first officers on the scene couldn't find any signs of her whereabouts. The area around the bench, where her phone and Willow's leash were found, showed no signs of a struggle or any evidence indicating that something unusual had occurred. A thick fog still blanketed the area, adding to the eerie and mysterious atmosphere. The surrounding fields were vast empty spaces, with bare trees swaying in the wind. The River Wire flowed gently, its calm waters seemingly unwilling to reveal any secrets. For the investigators, everything seemed too quiet, almost suspiciously so. The police quickly cordoned off the area near the river and launched a large-scale search. Drones were deployed, scanning every inch of the ground from above, trying to detect any trace of Nicola. Professional divers scoured the cold waters of the River Wire, hoping to find some clue, but all efforts were in vain. Nicola remained completely missing. Meanwhile, Paul was engulfed by a sense of confusion and anxiety. He couldn't comprehend what had happened to his wife. He tried to recall every smallest detail of that morning, searching for a clue, something unusual he might have overlooked. But there was nothing. Everything was completely normal. The day had unfolded just like any other. Until Nicola disappeared. Questions began to arise in Paul's mind and in the minds of the investigators. How could a woman disappear in just a few short minutes? Why was there no sign indicating that Nicola had left the area? Did she accidentally fall into the river, or did something else happen? Police began to investigate every aspect of Nicola's life, from her family and friends to her work. They searched for any reason that might have led her to leave the village without a trace. Neighbors were interviewed, friends were questioned, but no one could provide any useful information. Nicola was an ordinary woman, living a peaceful life. She had no enemies, no complicated relationships, or serious personal issues. Her life seemed perfect, with no warning signs of this strange event. However, as the investigation progressed, some details began to emerge, making the case even more complicated. Police realized that there were no CCTV cameras covering the area where Nicola disappeared. This meant that there was no way to know exactly what happened after 9:10 a.m. when she was last seen. All they had was a 12-minute gap, from 9:18 a.m., when Nicola adjusted the call volume, to 9:30 a.m., when her phone was still connected to the meeting. These unanswered questions continued to haunt the investigators. What did Nicola do during that time? Why didn't she take her phone with her if she had left the bench? Why was her dog left alone? While the investigators continued to work with these unresolved questions, Paul was forced to face daily life without Nicola. He had to care for their 2 young daughters, explaining to them that their mother had gone somewhere and hadn't returned yet. But with each passing day, Paul's hope slowly faded. He couldn't stop wondering if there was something he could have done differently to prevent this from happening. In the small community of St. Michael's-on-Wire, Nicola's disappearance caused confusion and anxiety. The neighbors, who had known her for a long time, couldn't believe that something like this could happen in their quiet village. They began to look at each other with, "He was involved in his wife's disappearance?" Public and media's suspicious eyes would not relent. In the few moments Paul could spare for himself, he often sat alone in the now empty house. Every corner of the home brought back memories of Nicola, from the sofa where she would often sit and read, to the dining table where the family used to gather. These memories felt like knives stabbing into his heart each time he thought of her. But Paul knew he couldn't allow himself to collapse. He still had to care for their 2 young daughters, and he knew he had to stay strong for them. Yet inside, an endless void continued to grow with each passing day without news of Nicola. As public interest reached its peak, the media began to reveal details that the police had previously tried to keep confidential. Among them was information about Nicola's health before she disappeared. Journalists started reporting that she might have been dealing with personal or mental health issues that could have led her to voluntarily leave her current life. These reports quickly became a topic of discussion on social media and in everyday conversations, sparking a flurry of theories and speculations. However, no one truly knew the state of Nicola's health before her disappearance. Paul and Nicola's family chose not to share any personal information about her, partly to protect her privacy and partly because they didn't believe that personal issues were the cause of her disappearance. But the lack of information only fueled public curiosity, leading to more baseless rumors. Meanwhile, the police investigation continued to expand. Several experts were brought in to analyze data from Nicola's mobile phone and nearby security cameras. One significant discovery was data from Nicola's Fitbit watch, showing a sudden spike in her heart rate around 9:22 a.m., just a few minutes after she was last seen. This sudden spike could have been caused by a stressful or frightening situation, but no one knew exactly what had happened at that moment. When the Fitbit data was made public, it became a crucial lead in the investigation. Analysts tried to use this data to reconstruct Nicola's final movements, but the results didn't provide as much information as hoped. Despite having more data, the question of what happened to Nicola in those final minutes before she disappeared remained unanswered. At the same time, interviews with Nicola's friends and colleagues also didn't yield many new clues. They described her as a joyful woman, devoted to her family and committed to her work. None of them could imagine that Nicola would leave her current life without leaving any trace. The inability to find answers led to increasing tension in the small community of St. Michael's-on-Wire. The once close relationships began to fray under the strain of suspicion. Those who were once close friends began to wonder if someone knew more than they were letting on. The unity that had once been the pride of the community was now being tested by a mystery that no one could explain. As the investigation entered its second month, the police decided to take a series of deeper investigative steps, including re-interviewing witnesses, thoroughly combing the area where Nicola was last seen. They hoped this would yield new leads or shed light on things they might have overlooked in previous investigations. However, despite all their relentless efforts, the mystery of Nicola Bulley's disappearance remained unsolved. New theories were proposed, only to be dismissed. New leads quickly turned into dead ends. The frustration grew among those involved in the search, and the small community of St. Michael's-on-Wye became shrouded in a heavy atmosphere of anxiety and concern. The story of Nicola Bulley's disappearance was no longer just a simple case. It had become a symbol of human fear in the face of life's uncertainty and meaninglessness. A woman had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a disrupted community, a broken family, and thousands of unanswered questions. And no matter how hard people tried, no matter how many theories were proposed, the truth remained elusive, hidden in the shadows, with no one able to unravel the mystery. Nicola Bulley, the mother, the wife, the friend, remained an unsolved mystery, a story without an ending. As time passed without any clear progress in the investigation, pressure on the Lancashire police force increased. The small community of St. Michael's-on-Wye began to lose faith in those responsible for finding Nicola Bulley. Uncomfortable questions began to spread. Do the police really know what they're doing? Are they hiding something? And could their mistakes have made the case more complicated? These doubts not only lingered in the minds of the locals, but also spread widely across the media and social networks. As public interest grew, so did the pressure on the police. Under the media spotlight, every move the police made was scrutinized, and soon, mistakes began to emerge. The first, and perhaps the biggest mistake in the investigation, was the failure to secure the scene where Nicola Bulley was last seen. Shortly after news of her disappearance spread, the bench by the River Wye, where her phone and Willow's leash were found, quickly became a point of public curiosity. Locals and visitors from other areas flocked to the scene, hoping to find something the police might have missed. As a result, the scene was disturbed by hundreds of footprints and traces left by strangers. Any potential evidence may have been lost or tampered with. This lack of caution led to public outrage within the community and created a significant gap in the investigation. Many began to doubt that the police had properly fulfilled their duties, leading to a loss of confidence in their capabilities. One of the most controversial points during the investigation was how the police handled information related to Nicola's personal health. Initially, the police asserted that Nicola had no health issues that could be related to her disappearance. This statement was made during a press conference to quell speculation and keep the investigation focused on the main leads. However, just a few weeks later, the police unexpectedly changed their stance, revealing that Nicola was indeed dealing with mental health issues and that she was considered high risk due to personal vulnerability. This inconsistency sparked a strong wave of criticism from the public and the media. Many accused the police of either covering up information or trying to excuse their failure in solving the case. This led to greater public skepticism and fueled a widespread wave of rumors. Speculation that Nicola might have voluntarily disappeared or even taken her own life began to spread rapidly. Theories that she might have been experiencing a personal crisis or mental stress that led her to leave her current life were amplified on social media forums and in everyday conversation. People started to wonder whether the police really had a full grasp of the story, or if they were just steering public opinion in a certain direction. Police's next mistake was publicly disclosing details about Nicola's health without her family's consent. When the police announced that Nicola was struggling with alcohol use and menopause, it triggered a wave of outrage not only from her family, but also from the community at large. Nicola's family felt betrayed when these private details were made public without their approval. This not only caused emotional pain for the family, but also eroded their trust in the police. They had hoped that the police would handle the case with respect and sensitivity, but instead, they saw their loved one's personal details become the subject of public discussion. Psychologists and legal experts also criticized how the police handled the situation. They argued that releasing this information not only damaged Nicola's dignity, but also distracted from the investigation. Instead of focusing on uncovering the real reasons behind her disappearance, public became embroiled in unnecessary debates about her personal health. As public interest in the case grew, the police seemed to lose control over the excessive involvement of outsiders. People from all over the country flocked to the small village, organizing spontaneous searches and even trespassing in areas that had been cordoned off by the police. Social media users, YouTubers, and TikTokers began organizing live streams from the scene, turning the case into entertainment for viewers. The police were slow to stop these actions, leading to further disruption of the crime scene. Authorities were heavily criticized for failing to maintain order and control, which further eroded public trust in their abilities. The failure to control information and the crime scene led to a larger problem. Police seemed to lose focus on important leads. Instead of concentrating on finding concrete and reliable evidence, they became entangled in addressing and managing the rumors and controversies generated by the public and the media. This distraction made the investigation fragmented and ineffective. Crucial progress was delayed, and investigators spent more time responding to criticisms rather than focusing on their primary task. Important clues may have been overlooked, and valuable time was wasted in unnecessary debates. All of these mistakes culminated in a serious consequence: the loss of public confidence in the investigation. Those who had previously supported the police began to turn away, and skepticism grew. Journalists, legal experts, and even ordinary citizens started to criticize the handling of the case, with many questioning whether the police were genuinely committed to solving it. Meanwhile, theories and rumors continued to spread, further complicating the situation. Heated debates between supporters of different theories erupted on social media and during television broadcasts. Nicola Bulley's disappearance, once a case in need of resolution, had now become a battleground of information, the police caught in the center of the storm. In St. Michael's-on-Wye, the atmosphere grew increasingly heavy. The villagers, who had once been proud of their community's peace and unity, now faced a harsh reality. Their village had become a symbol of insecurity and chaos. With each passing day without answers to Nicola's disappearance, trust in the legal system waned, and tension within the community grew. While the public and media focused their attention on the police, Nicola's family endured indescribable pain. Paul, Nicola's husband, not only had to cope with the anguish of loss, but also had to contend with baseless rumors that he might be involved in his wife's disappearance. The public's criticism and suspicion made him feel as though he was being relentlessly pursued. Nicola's family repeatedly requested that the police handle the case with care and respect for their privacy, but these requests seemed to be ignored. The public disclosure of Nicola's personal details without the family's consent caused a deep wound, and they began to lose faith in the police's ability to uncover the truth. Every day, Paul and his daughters lived in doubt and fear, unsure if they could trust anyone anymore. They felt isolated, abandoned in a once united community that was now divided by rumors and suspicion. Under pressure from the public and Nicola's family, police were forced to reassess the entire investigation. They began focusing on new lines of inquiry, hoping to uncover a clue that might have been overlooked. Some investigators were tasked with re-examining the data from nearby security cameras, searching for details that may have been missed. Police also expanded the search area, no longer limiting it to St. Michael's-on-Wye, but extending it to the surrounding regions. They began interviewing people outside the community, those who might have passed through the village on the day Nicola disappeared. But no matter how far they extended the investigation, the question of where Nicola went and what happened to her remained shrouded in darkness. Nicola Bulley's disappearance had now become more than just a criminal case. It was a test of the legal system and the police's capabilities. The mistakes made had eroded public trust, and now the hope of finding the truth seemed increasingly fragile. Yet despite all the difficulties and setbacks, the dedicated investigators did not give up. They knew that each day without answers was a day that justice was not being served. And while the public continued to argue and judge, they quietly persisted in their work, searching for the truth amidst the chaos and doubt. The truth about Nicola Bulley's disappearance had yet to be revealed. Hope remained, no matter how small. And as everyone waited for answers, the shadow of the case continued to hang over St. Michael's on wire, like a storm that would never pass. After weeks of fruitless searching, an unexpected event occurred on a chilly February morning, the day that the small community of St. Michael's on Wire would never forget. The day Nicola Bulley's body was finally found. That morning, 2 local residents were walking along the banks of the River Wire, as they often did to relax and reflect. For them, the river was not just part of the peaceful landscape, but a place where they felt connected and serene. But that morning, the usual tranquility was shattered when they discovered something horrifying. Nicola's body was found drifting near the riverbank, about a mile from the bench where her phone and leash were found. Both residents were shocked by the sight. They immediately called the police, and within minutes, the area was cordoned off. An investigation team was quickly deployed, along with divers and forensic experts, all focused on gathering any remaining evidence. News of Nicola's body being found quickly spread throughout the village and across the media. For many, this marked a painful conclusion to a mystery that had dragged on for far too long. However, finding the body did not bring the expected relief. Instead, it opened up a series of new questions that no one could easily answer. One of the first questions that arose was, why wasn't Nicola's body discovered earlier? Police and divers had scoured the River Wire for weeks, using advanced sonar equipment and conducting underwater searches, yet there had been no sign of her. This seemed inexplicable, especially since her body was found not far from the bench where her phone and leash were discovered. Many began to speculate that Nicola's body may not have been in the water the entire time she was missing. Could someone have hidden her body and then placed it back in the river to mislead the police? Or was there something else, an element no one had yet considered, that made her body difficult to find? The police's explanation only added to the skepticism. They claimed that Nicola's body might have been trapped under rocks or vegetation at the bottom of the river, making it difficult for the sonar equipment to detect. But many people, especially those involved in the searches, didn't accept this explanation. They felt that something wasn't right. The full story had yet to be revealed. Once Nicola's body was found, post-mortem examination was conducted immediately. The initial results indicated that she had died from drowning, but many questions remained. There were no signs of an attack or severe injury on her body, which seemed to rule out third-party involvement. But this led to another question. How did Nicola end up in the river? Theories that she might have accidentally fallen into the river due to losing her balance or suffering a stroke were suggested. But no one could be certain, and there was no clear evidence to support these theories. Additionally, data from her Fitbit showed that Nicola's heart rate had spiked suddenly just before she disappeared, a sign that she may have experienced extreme panic or stress. But what caused that panic? What happened in those final moments before Nicola fell into the cold waters of the River Wire? These are questions that no one could answer, and they continued to fuel speculation and debate within the community. One of the most puzzling details of the case was the location of the bench where Nicola was last seen, and how her dog, Willow, was found. This bench, situated in a quiet spot by the river, was where Nicola often sat to rest during her morning walks. But that morning, her phone was found on the bench, still connected to an online meeting, while Willow was found wandering nearby without anyone to guide him. Did Nicola stand up from the bench and walk towards the river for some reason? Or was something that caught her attention, causing her to leave the bench without taking her phone? And why didn't Willow follow his owner if she went towards the river? These questions remain unanswered, and they continue to cast a shadow of uncertainty over the case. The location where Nicola's body was found also raises many questions. The area had been thoroughly searched by divers and volunteers but no one had discovered the body earlier. So why did it appear there at a time when no one expected it? There are theories that the current might have carried her body from another location, or that it was trapped and only later dislodged. But there is no clear evidence to confirm any of these theories. As a result, the question of how Nicola's body ended up at the spot where it was found remains an unsolved mystery. The news of Nicola's body being found triggered a wave of strong emotions in the community and within her family. For many, this was a painful but necessary conclusion to a story that had dragged on for too long. They hoped that finding the body would provide the needed answers and bring some comfort to the family. But for Nicola's family, finding the body was only the beginning of a new pain. Paul, her husband, felt as though he had lost a part of himself. The unanswered questions about what happened to his wife left him restless. Couldn't stop wondering if there was something they had missed, something they could have done differently, prevent this tragedy. Nicola's daughters also had to face the pain of losing their mother, pain they couldn't fully comprehend. They were too young to understand that their mother would never return, and Paul had to find a way to explain it to them without causing them further hurt. Meanwhile, community of St. Michael's on Wire, once peaceful and close-knit, now faced division and doubt. Questions about how the police handled the case and whether they were hiding something still lingered in the minds of many. They couldn't forget the mistakes that led to a loss of trust in the investigation, creating a wound in the community that would be hard to heal. Even though Nicola's body has been found, the crucial questions remain unanswered. What really happened on that fateful morning? Did Nicola accidentally fall into the river, or was she pushed? And if she did fall, what caused her to lose balance or become so panicked that she couldn't save herself? These questions continue to fuel the imagination of the public and the investigators. Some believe that there may be an unexplored factor, something the police might have missed. Others think that Nicola might have encountered an unforeseen accident, or that she was trying to avoid a danger that no one else knew about. New theories continue to emerge, each offering a different explanation for Nicola's disappearance. But all of them lack one crucial element: clear evidence. As a result, this case remains an unsolved mystery, a story in which everyone can draw their own conclusions. Truth about Nicola Bulley's death is still an unanswered question. Although the police have officially concluded that she died from drowning, not everyone accepts this explanation. Questions about how she ended up in the river, why her body wasn't discovered earlier, and what really happened that morning remain unsolved mysteries. The story of Nicola Bulley's disappearance and death is not just a criminal case, but also a lesson about uncertainty and the limits of human ability to uncover the truth. It reminds us that no matter how hard we try, there are mysteries that we may never fully solve. And so this story remains without an ending. The questions continue to linger in the minds of those who care, and the truth about what happened to Nicola Bulley still lies in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. Finding Nicola Bulley's body did not bring the sense of closure that many had hoped for. Instead, it left a trail of unanswered questions and deep skepticism about what really happened that morning. The police have officially concluded that Nicola drowned, but this conclusion does not satisfy everyone. The lingering questions have created a heavy atmosphere, not just in the small community of St. Michael's on Wire, but across the entire country. Police concluded that Nicola fell into the river and drowned, but the specific reason why she fell remains a mystery. There is no evidence to suggest that she committed suicide, nor is there any indication that someone pushed her. This has led to various theories, ranging from the possibility that she lost her balance in an accident to the idea that she may have panicked for an as-yet undiscovered reason. Nicola's family, particularly her husband Paul, cannot easily accept that it was simply an accident. The lack of clear evidence about what happened in those final moments before Nicola disappeared leaves them feeling unsettled. They continue to question what really happened, hoping that one day, truth will be revealed. Meanwhile, the local community is also divided. Some people accept the police's conclusion as inevitable, while others feel that something remains undisclosed. Conversations surrounding the case have become tense, with many offering their own theories based on what they know or have heard. St. Michael's-on-Wye, once a peaceful place, is now shrouded in a fog of doubt and confusion. Nicola Bulley's case is not just an isolated incident. When we look at the history of similar cases, we see many parallels and similar mysterious elements. Unexplained disappearances and unresolved deaths have occurred before, and Nicola's case is just one of these stories. One notable similar case is the disappearance of Gaia Pope in 2017. Gaia, a 19-year-old girl, vanished in Swanage, Dorset, after leaving a friend's house. Despite a large-scale search, her body was only found 11 days later in an area that had been searched multiple times before. The strange circumstances surrounding Gaia's case, such as her clothes being found a few days earlier in a different location, raised questions similar to those in Nicola's case. Both incidents share a common factor: bodies being found in areas that had been thoroughly searched before, complicating the explanations for their deaths. Another related case is the disappearance of Sean Ritchie in 2014. Sean, a young man, disappeared after a Halloween party in Strichan, Scotland. Like Nicola, Sean vanished mysteriously without leaving any clear traces. Extensive searches were conducted, but no clues were found, and to this day, Sean's whereabouts remain unknown. Some of Sean's personal belongings were found scattered in the area, but his body was never found, leaving the case an unsolved mystery. Finally, there is the case of David Plunkett in 2004. David disappeared after a night out in Manchester. Strangely, David's parents received a call from him at 1:15 a.m., during which he seemed to be in a state of panic, screaming in fear before the call was cut off. David's body was later found in a canal, and while his death was ruled as drowning, no one could explain how he ended up in the water or what happened in his final moments. These cases, along with Nicola Bulley's, share a common thread: a lack of clarity in the final moments before the victim's disappearance, and their bodies being found under mysterious circumstances. They all leave behind a series of unanswered questions, with no one able to be certain of what truly happened. Nicola Bulley's case serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of human life in the face of life's unpredictable events. No matter how hard we try to uncover the truth, there are mysteries that we may never fully solve. The police may draw conclusions based on the evidence they have, but in cases like these, the truth may forever remain beyond our reach. For Nicola's family and friends, accepting that they may never know the full truth is an incredibly difficult task. They must live with unanswered questions, and the pain of loss will remain a wound that cannot heal. This case also highlights the importance of transparency and accuracy in investigations. The initial mistakes made by the police in securing the crime scene, handling information, and managing the investigation. Public's involvement weakened trust in the investigation and created an atmosphere of skepticism. It demonstrates that in such complex and sensitive situations, caution and responsibility are essential to maintaining public confidence. Although Nicola Bulley's body has been found and the police have concluded that she drowned, her story remains unresolved. Unanswered questions, unverified theories, and connections to other cases keep this story alive in the minds of many. Perhaps one day, a new clue will emerge, giving us a clearer understanding of what happened. Perhaps the truth will remain a mystery, one of those stories that is never fully answered. But whatever the outcome, Nicola Bulley's case will always be a part of the history of St. Michael's-on-Wye, a sobering reminder of life's fragility and the mysteries we may never fully comprehend. And so, this story closes with lingering questions in the shadows, like a storm that never clears, leaving behind a divided community, broken family, and a series of unanswered questions. The story of Nicola Bulley's disappearance and death has ended, but its echoes continue to resonate in the hearts of those involved, and even those who only learned about the case through the media. It is not just the story of a missing woman, but a symbol of the things we cannot control or fully understand in life. It is also a reminder that, no matter how hard we try, there are mysteries that we may never have complete answers for. Some people accept that the case has been closed, while others still believe that much remains undisclosed. Debates about how the police handled the case, the mistakes that were made, and the unresolved theories continue to cause tension in the community. Relationships that were once close are now tested by suspicion and differing viewpoint. However, in the coming time, the community will need to find a way to heal. The people of St. Michael's-on-Wire will have to learn to face what has happened and regain the peace that once existed there. This will not be easy, but it is necessary for them to continue living, continue building, and to protect their community. Nicola Bulley's case is a powerful reminder of the importance of transparency and responsibility in investigation. The early mistakes made by the police, from failing to secure the crime scene to publicly sharing personal details without the family's consent, weakened public trust in the investigation. This loss not only hurt Nicola's family, but also damaged faith in the legal system. Law enforcement agencies must learn from this case to avoid repeating similar mistakes in the future. Transparency and caution in handling information, respect for those involved, and accountability to the community are crucial elements for maintaining trust and justice. Although the case has ended, the questions surrounding Nicola Bulley's death remain unanswered. What really happened on that fateful morning? How did she end up in the river? Why wasn't her body found sooner? These questions still linger, like an unsolved mystery without an ending. For many, the lack of clear answers is difficult to accept. However, in reality, there are stories we may never fully understand. Nicola Bulley's story is one of those, a story where the truth may forever lie beyond our reach. Nicola Bulley's case is a tragedy, but it is also a reminder of the fragility of life. We never know what will happen next, and sometimes the worst things happen to the best people. What's important is that we learn to face these tragedies, find comfort in family and community, and continue living despite the challenges. For Nicola's family, the message is to find comfort in the love of those around them, and to remember that Nicola will always live on in their memories. For the community of St. Michael's-on-Wire, the message is to learn to heal and rediscover the peace that once existed. And for everyone who has followed this story, remember that life holds mysteries we may never solve. But that doesn't mean we can't find meaning and comfort in the things we do understand. Nicola Bulley's story has come to an end, but the lessons from this story continue to resonate in our minds, reminding us of the preciousness of life and the relationships we have. Cherish your loved ones, live with caution and responsibility, always keep faith in the good things in life, even when facing the toughest challenges. And so this story closes, not with a happy ending, but with a message of resilience and hope, a reminder that life goes on, even when there are mysteries left unsolved.